This message comes from Capital One with the Venture X business card. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase and enjoy purchasing power to spend more and earn more. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Okay, really quickly, how would you describe Heated Rivalry in one word?
Hot.
Glenn says hot.
Intimate?
Intimate. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to say romantic.
There we go.
It may be cold outside, but HBO Max's latest streaming darling, Heated Rivalry, is burning up our screens. But what is it about this gay hockey romance that has people, including me, waiting with bated breath for the next episode?
There is a simple answer to why it's huge and a much more complicated one. Let's start with a simple one. It's hot. People like things that are hot. Let's not overthink it.
There's a lot going on. Like, they're not beating around the bush.
Then again, we're here to overthink it, so let's get into it.
A warning to listeners, this segment includes frank discussion of sex. Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. All right, we are going to get into the heated rivalry of it all, but first, I want to talk about public media. This show, NPR, and the whole public media system were made for you. From its founding in the U.S., public media was created to bring you stories from underrepresented communities and provide cultural insights that expand your perspective. We still believe in these core commitments of public media at NPR, but public media is now navigating a new chapter without federal funding. As we move into this new reality together, we know that you won't let the service that has been here for you all these years falter. We rely on your support to bring you It's Been a Minute now more than ever. If you've already gone the extra mile as an NPR Plus supporter, we thank you. If not, you can join the Plus community, get a bunch of perks like bonus episodes and more from NPR's podcasts, and support public media by signing up for NPR Plus today at plus.npr.org. And I left you a link in the description of this episode. Now, let's get into some culture. So a bit of background here for our listeners. Heated Rivalry is a limited streaming series from Canadian company Crave, and it's currently airing on HBO Max. It's adapted from Rachel Reed's Game Changers romance novel series about queer professional hockey players. So the story starts in 2008, where we meet two characters on opposing hockey teams. Shane Hollander, played by actor Hudson Williams, and Ilya Rozanov, played by actor Connor Story. Every time their teams play against each other, Shane and Ilya coordinate steamy hotel hookups while trying to keep their relationship and their sexuality a secret. I cannot overstate how big of a success this show has been. According to Screen Rant, Heated Rivalry was HBO Max's second most watched series in the United States for November 29, just one day after it premiered. As of this taping, the Game Changers books were out of stock on Amazon, Bookshop, and Barnes & Noble. And the show and its stars have become extremely popular on social media. Fan edits, episode recaps, and, of course, discourse. For the poor, unfortunate souls out there who have not heard of or seen this show, lace up your ice skates because we are getting into all of it with co-host of NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour, Glenn Weldon.
Great to be here.
And TV critic and columnist of Appointment Viewing for The Cut, Michelle Ganem.
Thank you for having me.
Heated Rivalry is a gay Canadian hockey romance. Like, those descriptors don't typically spell mainstream TV success. And yet, here we are. This is like the hottest thing cooking like the past couple of weeks.
I think what we're dealing with here is the accessibility. It is HBO, and that means that it's readily available. And we've been kind of, led down the primrose path by the sex. But once you hit a character like Ilya, who is this swaggering jock who feels like he doesn't deserve love and he only deserves sex because, because of the homophobia of his family and his appears, he's a rake. He's a classic romance staple. He's a trope. We can talk about how this show uses sex to characterize its two leads, which is something that certainly for gay romance we are not used to. I think even, very spicy gay romance that's been on television before tends to pan away to the gently wafting curtains. And this doesn't, and it keeps showing us different aspects of the sex as it changes, as things are in flux in their relationship. And so it uses sex to characterize, to fully describe the dynamic of their relationship in any given moment, how that changes over time. That's a useful tool for any creator that a lot of creators leave on the cutting room floor, and this one doesn't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I think even about like the way they interact with each other in the sex scenes. It carries over into how they interact with each other in their texting conversations, which also are displayed on screen. Mm-hmm. And I find myself like alternately like cringing or like smiling and giggling and kicking my feet when I'm watching. There's a lot there that reminds me of that first blush of love that is like so, that's what these tropes are meant to do. They're meant to bring that back up for you. So to that point, okay, Heated Rivalry is based on this popular book series by Rachel Reed, as we've discussed. I've been seeing some discourse online about the fact that a woman wrote this source material and that a lot of the consumers of this genre, of the gay romance genre, are women. And aside from gay men, a lot of the people talking about this show online are also women of all sexualities. What are your thoughts on what's happening here?
There was sort of a pre-existing fan base available to the romance genre through the history of romance being primarily written by women and catered towards women. And I got a lot of questions from my friends asking me, do you think it's fetishizing gay sex? Do you find that your identity is being fetishized? And to me, having read A Little Life, where if anyone knows that book, it's a very traumatic story about a queer character with a lot of sexual assault and a lot of horrible things occur to that character, written by a woman. And in that moment, when I read that book, I did feel like there was some fetishization going on. With Heated Rivalry, I feel like the bar, has shifted because this is a positive story. Bury Your Gaze is a trope where characters on television that are queer end up dying. And the Bury Your Gaze trope is still alive and well, as we saw with shows like, even Killing Eve, that had a very passionate queer fan base. So it's refreshing to me to see this story. I also just want to mention that the creator and the director of this show, Jacob Tierney, is a gay man. And I feel like he was the perfect person to adapt this material from his sort of point of view. And he was able to do that while still being super faithful to the book, which the fans obviously really appreciate.
Yeah, I think fetishization, you know it when you see it. It didn't ping for me on this particular show. Maybe because I'm a middle-aged gay man who's been with the same dude for 26 years, and I long to be fetishized. I long to be objectified. But I think when it's coming from a cynical place, when it's coming from a place of monetary gain, from bottom line, yeah, you can sense it. But here, I mean, the women who write this stuff write it for themselves and their audiences of women and gay men. And that's another way to kind of see if this is if there's something sinister going on here. Gay men are picking up on this online in a big, big way. They're the ones, not the only ones, of course, but they are really leaning all in. And it's not the thing that you might think it is. It's not that the sex is explicit and the men are hot, because let me tell you, if that was it, gay men, if we wanted to see hot men going at it, we have avenues for that. We have means for that. That's not what this is about. This is about something else. And I think it's about coming for the sex and finding yourself in this environment, this setting. Let's talk about this setting. This is a era. This is a place of just, really performative masculinity, hockey with the brawls and the fans who are really bloodthirsty. And I've never been able to picture myself in that world, but with this show, I don't have these butts and I don't have these skills, but I do have these feelings. And imagining myself in this world, seeing myself through these characters' eyes, it's like a fantasy novel for me, right?
A vein of discourse that I've seen online and also like heard from other women in my life is that like so much of romance that is aimed at straight women in particular, or women who date men in particular, between hetero couples, it's just like the power dynamics are off in a way that's not fun, right? In a way that's rather given rather than chosen. And a lot of the sex is choreographed, or the intimacy is choreographed often in a way that like doesn't make logical sense, doesn't seem fun, or is meant to show, or ends up, it has the effect of showing the woman in sort of a subservient like position that just doesn't feel that thrilling. A lot of women seem to have engaged with, I think, gay romance more broadly, but heated rivalry specifically, because there is so much playfulness and care in their intimacy, in their intimate moments. And that's very, very different than how hetero romance is shown on screen.
Yeah, and also there's kind of a bait and switch going on with this particular series where it starts off as a series of hookups, and this might be one reason why gay men are kind of keying into it in a way they didn't to other sort of gay romances, because hookups, we know what hookups are, and we know, because we've seen television before, that this is going to end up in a romance, and then we hit with that third episode with a much more conventional MSM romance, like where it starts with a meet cute and it progresses and progresses, and there's still, a power differential there, and there's still a sort of element of the closet, which is all very familiar to everybody, but this is taking a look at how these dynamics shift over time and over a single session of sex, and that is characterization. That's why this show is working.
Yeah, I mean, sex is a huge part of this series, as we're discussing. And the show's creator, Jacob Tierney, has said that the sex is how these two characters get to know each other. It's a language of communication, and it pushes the story forward, which I'll say myself, I think that's very often how sex works in real life. I wonder, is that language landing for y'all?
Yeah, definitely, at least for me. I mean, I don't think there was a way to tell the story without the sex. I mean, they're not able to be out in public. And so how do you build that intimacy and that characterization, as Glenn was saying, between the characters if it's not in the bedroom? And so I think there's something to be said about exploring that here in a way that other queer shows have avoided more recently, when in heterosexual relationships, sex is sort of freely used to explore that dynamic.
I will say I've seen some chatter like online or whatever around whether or not the two main actors are queer in real life. Or that question I feel like does come up whenever there are these like television and film roles that do require explicit gay sex scenes. How much does that actually matter?
It's so funny. As you mentioned, this conversation really does come up every time. Like with Heartstopper, it was such a thing around Kid Connor. And as soon as he, was basically forced out of the closet to come out as bisexual, the conversation immediately stops because everyone is satisfied with that answer and moves on. I understand the two sides of it. On one hand, I think viewers want to know that their stories are in the hands of people that are like them. On the other hand, we are digging into people's personal lives. Some people are not comfortable with coming out. Some people may have, maybe somewhere on the spectrum of sexuality, but don't know exactly where they are. And some actors do identify as straight or heterosexual and still play many queer roles. And whether or not you believe they do that because they want to expand their acting repertoire or because they are looking for some kind of cultural cachet is up for debate, but that is the reality. And there are some actors who particularly like those queer roles. At this point, there's nothing else for me to say because those are not my lives. And so, I think Jacob Tierney did respond to that and just said, it's not really anyone's business right now.
And, again, this is a your mileage may vary thing, but I think what that speaks to is queer folks wanting to know that there is someone either in front of the camera or behind it who knows their stories. It doesn't have to be the actors. It can be Tierney. It can be the director. It can be the creator. I think that's just a reaction to decades and decades and decades of Brokeback Mountains, where absolutely nobody involved with that had ever had any experience. And, I'll put it this way. They got the angles wrong. in a way that if there were any queer folks involved, somebody would have stepped in.
Now that's something I was going to say. Now that's a classic hallmark of straight romance is getting the angles wrong.
Right? Absolutely, right? So, but yeah, I just think as long as we feel seen and not used, I think that's what matters.
Seen and not used. I might take that one from you, Glenn. I'll credit you, but that's a good one. I wonder, what does the popularity and buzz around this show say about what audiences are craving from television or from romance?
When I look back at the year that has flown by, and I think of the queer shows that have come out, Boots, Adults, Overcompensating, and how each of those did well, but they haven't reached this level of mainstream appeal. I do wonder if, shows can experiment a bit with sexuality and showing sex on camera and really digging into the intimacy of these characters. I think there's a hunger for that for all audiences. And I hope that it skews more towards like queer people, because we are in an era where we're seeing stories at the margins being rolled back, essentially. And in this kind of anti-DEI era, I hope that the TV industry doesn't cave to that.
That's a really good point.
And those shows that Michelle mentioned, Boots and Overcompensating, those belong to the kind of queer shows that believe that characterization ends at the bedroom door. We learn that maybe these characters do or do not have sex. We don't learn how they have sex, and that's what the show, as we've talked about, that's what the show is all about, how they deal with intimacy and vulnerability and authority. When do they cede control, and when do they take control? How they deal with humor, because sex can be very funny. Can they laugh at themselves? That is something I want to know about a character. And as you mentioned, how does previous sexual experience factor into this? Do they believe that physical intimacy and emotional intimacy are the same thing, or do they just totally disconnect those things? Those are all important things, and that's what this show gets.
Michelle, Glenn, I have learned so much here. Thank you both so much for this conversation. And to thank you, can you stick around for like 5 minutes and play a game with me?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
All right. Yes. Okay, y'all, when we get back, we're going to play a little game. Stick around.
This message comes from Cook Unity. The holidays are here, which means it's time for comfort, joy, and really good food. Enjoy culinary masterpieces for way less than restaurants, takeout, or the grocery store. Menus are updated weekly, so meals are never boring or repetitive. Taste comfort and craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/minute or enter code MINUTE before checkout to get 50% off your first order. This message comes from Whole Foods Market. Make every holiday party shine with Whole Foods Market. Hosting? Stock up on their Wallet Happy 365 brand with appetizers like walnut honey shrimp and breaded calamari. Plus, save now on crowd-pleasing bone-in spiral-cut ham with no antibiotics ever. For dessert, check out limited-time treats like their holiday rum cake. With so many ways to save on festive spreads all month long, shop Whole Foods Market today. Terms apply.
This message comes from NPR sponsor, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Finding the right leads can feel like an endless search for sellers. What if you could get to the right conversations faster? From finding new leads to strengthening existing relationships, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is your strategic AI-powered partner. It cuts through the noise with real-time data and insights, backed by LinkedIn's network of over 1 billion professionals. Try it free for 60 days at linkedin.com/benaminute. That's linkedin.com/benaminute. Terms and conditions apply. This message is sponsored by DSW, the birthplace of the humble brag. Full of all kinds of shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. And when there are never-ending options for every style, mood, occasion, and budget, there is unlimited freedom to play. And that's something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands, or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW, let them surprise you.
All right, we are going to play a little game I like to call Wait, What?
Wait, what?
We are going to run through some pop culture moments of the week, and you're going to guess who did what. But don't worry, it's all multiple choice. The person who answers first with the right answer gets a point. Person with the most points in the end wins, and your prize is bragging rights. If you're ready, Please give me a shout into the microphone. Say hockey.
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 Okay, round one. Which singer went Instagram official with her political bow last weekend? Was it A, Rosario Dawson, B, Katy Perry, or C, Sheryl Lee Ralph?
Katy Perry.
Michelle says B, Katy Perry. Glenn, what do you say?
I say A.
Glenn says A, Rosario Dawson. The answer is B, Katy Perry. Miss Kitty Perry herself. Yes, she is dating former Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau.
All right.
They hard launched on Instagram last weekend after rumors of their romance have been swirling around the internet for, I think, maybe months, if not weeks at this point.
I do live in Canada.
Unfair bias in that first question toward Michelle, but that's okay.
I'll say Rosario Dawson did used to date New Jersey's Cory Booker.
That's true.
Who just got married recently. So I think your brain was making some deep connections. All right, round two. Actor Michael Caine was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award by which longtime friend? Was it A, Christopher Nolan, B, Christian Bale, or C, Vin Diesel?
Christopher Nolan.
I have no idea. Vin Diesel.
The answer is C, Vin Diesel.
What?
Yeah, the two met at a dinner party about 30 years ago, and they have been friends ever since. Which makes me wonder, I'm like, what kind of real life riz
Exactly.
does Vin Diesel have? Where Michael Caine was like, I got to spend more time with you. How did that happen?
Family.
Family, exactly. All right. Last round. Director Quentin Tarantino has gone on record saying that this actor is, quote, the weakest actor in the Screen Actors Guild, their entire union, okay? And a, quote, giant flaw in Paul Thomas Anderson's 2007 film, There Will Be Blood, was the actor A, Daniel Day-Lewis, B, Paul Dano, or C, Javier Bardem.
Paul Dano. B.
I think it is B, Paul Dano.
The answer is B, Paul Dano. And Glenn, you get the point. You were correct about this one. You were first.
Yeah.
Dano is weak sauce, man. Wow, we're podcasting a mistake. We're podcasting a mistake. All right, well, that is it for...
Wait, what?
Congratulations to Michelle on your win. Michelle, Glenn, thank you both so much for joining me today. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
That was Michelle Ganem, TV critic and columnist of Appointment Viewing for The Cut, and Glenn Weldon, co-host of NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Alexis Williams.
This episode was edited by
Aaron Edwards.
Our supervising producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, how you invest is your choice, not theirs. That's why when it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices. You can invest and trade on your own. Plus, get advice and more comprehensive wealth solutions to help meet your unique needs. With award-winning service, low costs, and transparent advice, you can manage your wealth your way at Schwab. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
This message comes from Mint Mobile. Starting at $15 a month, make the switch at mintmobile.com/switch. $45 upfront payment for 3 months. 5 gigabyte plan equivalent to $15 a month. Taxes and fees extra. First 3 months only. See terms.
This message comes from Solidigm. Yesterday's approach to storage can't meet the demands of today's AI ambitions. Bigger, faster, and more energy efficient, Solidigm solid-state storage solutions are optimized for AI. Learn more at storageforai.com.